Hi, I'm Roy Collin, and welcome to the show. I've got six podcasts, as you'll see behind me. The speaking podcast, where I'm talking to speakers, coaches, authors, and even marketers. I've got the meditation podcast, where I'm talking about meditation, breath work, yoga, chakras. I've got a load of meditations from 1 minute to 2 hours. I've got the Learn Polish podcast, and the episodes are about 5 to 10 minutes, and we deal with everyday topics like going to the dentist and things like that. The Awakening podcast is where I'm exposing fraud and corruption, but with solutions. And I've had guests like Mickey Willis, Dr. Peter McCullough, David Icke, and Thomas Rentz. The Crypto Podcast is where I'm exposing fraud and corruption in the crypto blockchain technology. So, about cryptos and NFTs, but also on the good things and how to invest safely. And finally, the Podfather, which you see there on my t-shirt, thepodfather.me, is where I'm helping podcasters either to start a podcast or existing podcasters how to grow their audience. And most of the episodes are short, but they're good tips that will help you improve your show. I also have a store on all of my podcasts, so you can go in. There's some of my products and also some of the affiliates that I do, and that helps me with the show. You'll find everything on bio.link/podcaster. And I'm also helping people start a podcast as well as doing a podcast tour. So you'll find everything on the link there. I'd like to thank my sponsor, DanielPackard.com. He's helping people with fear, doubt, and anxiety. He's got a 90% success rate, and you only pay if he helps you. So be sure to check him out, DanielPackard.com. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode. Be sure to comment on the social media and let us know what you think. You don't always have to agree, but as long as it's not abusive, the comment will stay up. Welcome to the Speaking Podcast. You can find all our episodes on speakingpodcast.com. My guest today, he's no stranger. He's back again. It's Daniel Packard. And the reason that we're talking today is he's actually a good friend of mine. I've mentioned before that we connected years ago in Ibiza, but we've been working together. And the beauty is, not only did I know a lot of people kind of prior to that had done this program that had got great benefit, but because we're collaborating now and I'm seeing the results, and like growing up, I kind of saw a lot of people suffering from not just anxiety, but just different things in life. And when you can see you can improve someone and permanently, it's actually inspiring to see. But Daniel, it's not just anxiety that you do. You actually do a lot more, don't you?
I do. And before we dive in, I just want to say I'm very grateful for, your support and partnership. You are a no BS Irishman, and you've been in this personal development industry a long time, and you've seen the charlatans and the snake oil salesmen. We've had conversations about all this stuff out there that's really shiny, but doesn't work that well, and that we want to bring more effective tools and approaches to people to really get them free of this pain. And so when you and I started working together, it felt really good because what we're doing is innovative. And the cool thing about innovation is it works better. The downside is people think it's too good to be true. And so when you came on board, it felt nice to be supported in this way. So, if ever people say, oh, this is too good to be true, I say, I have a no bullshit Irishman that believes in me. So, okay. Anyway, but yeah, we're not just going to talk about anxiety. For those of you who have heard me on this show before, I've spoken about anxiety, but there are much other ways that our inner technology we develop helps people, speakers, and really just anybody that's creative, professionally creative. And so I wanted to come on here and share that with you, because if you are a speaker or someone who's just professionally creative, because people that listen to this episode, it's not just speakers, right? It's authors, it's people who want to be creative and be successful at being creative. So to be successful at being creative, whether it's an author, a painter, or a speaker, there's minimum two things that you have to figure out. The first is, how to actually do the thing, write the book, give the speech. Okay, that's part number one. But then if you want to be successful at it, you also have to go out there and sell yourself and network and work hard and get gigs and sell yourself and deliver. There's sort of two parts to it, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
And
you
I
can't just
suppose
be an
we have
amazing
to
speaker in
realize
your
as
basement.
well, with all the different things, we have to realize as well that sometimes we kind of have to know our limits as well, and that we can actually have people that will do stuff to leave us be in the creative zone. So like if you're writing or you want to be speaking, not to be trying to do 50 things, that do what you're really good at and have help as well. But at the start, budget wise, sometimes we have to do all the stuff, when we're kind of taking off the hurdles. Unfortunately, it's expensive getting started, and you mightn't have the funding to hire a couple of people to do the marketing for you and different things.
Absolutely. There's a lot of layers to being professionally creative. Everyone would love to be professionally creative, but not many people do, because there's the doing, and then there's the practicality, and then the sustainability to do it successfully and to build. So there's two things. And I'm going to tell you what our company and what our system helps people with. And you tell me if this could help a professionally creative people, not just in the creative part, but in the business part. So we develop a system that helps people with anxiety, but also with perfectionism, procrastination, and self-confidence and self-doubt. Can you see how that one or all of those is going to help somebody not only be better at being creative, but also better at being a professionally creative person?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. I was working with a client, and he was a pretty good speaker, but he was a horrible procrastinator. So like, he's like, I know I'm a good speaker. I said, I'm sure you are. He said, but I won't reach out to people. I don't network. And I said, so you're like a superhero just hiding in the cave. He's like, pretty much. And I was like, not only are you denying the world of your gifts, which is why you started this? He said, yeah, I wanted to make an impact. I said, right. So not only are you not making that impact, I said, but the downside is when you have things you want to share with the world, whether you're a speaker or a writer or an artist of any way, when you can't do it, I said, what's the downside? He said, I mean, I'm not fulfilled. I'm sort of sad. And I said, yeah. I said, well, so we got to get you, not only you've got the speaking part down. We got to adjust the procrastination. But also we had another client. She was an author, and she knew she was a good writer, and she wasn't a procrastinator, but she was a perfectionist. So she came to me. She said, I know I'm a good writer, and I'm not a procrastinator. I've been working on the book. And I said, for how long? She said, 6 years. I said, really? Really? Okay, well, good. And I said, and why haven't you finished? And she said, I'm a perfectionist. And I said, I get it. I said, so you're a great writer. The book's basically written. I said, when do you think the book was actually finished? She said, probably like 4 years ago. And I said, right. So this perfectionism is, again, it's keeping you from sharing your gifts, but also, how do you feel? She's like, I'm not fulfilled. I just sit there, like Gollum, working on my final draft, being like, he likes the perfection. It must be perfect. I just turned into Kermit the Frog. You get the point. The point is, she's not sharing. And that's where the fulfillment is. So what I'm going to be sharing with your audience is something very valuable for professionally creative people, because it addresses what slows you down, which is the fear and anxiety, the procrastination, the self-doubt, and the perfectionism. But also what we do. And I always like to be clear at the beginning when I share what we do, because it's innovative and it's not what your audience is used to hearing about, but it's what your audience wants. What your audience normally has for, low self-confidence, anxiety, fear of speaking, procrastination, perfectionism, is they have tips and tools and insights and awareness to manage it. They know it's there, and they've learned books, and they go to retreats, and they work on it, and they're able to manage it, which is very, very valuable. It doesn't stop you. The only downside with managing things is you're always managing it. You're not what you really want, which is to be free of this. And that is what I'm going to talk about right now, is the system that we developed and the theory of why it's even possible to not manage your low self-confidence, anxiety, procrastination, perfectionism, but to truly just be free of it. Because when you're free of it, it unlocks this whole version of you that you really want to be. So if you're okay just managing the procrastination, the perfectionism, the low self-confidence, and the anxiety, if you're okay managing it, totally fine, but if you want to understand how to be free of it, not only permanently, but quickly, that's what we're going to be talking about right now.
Excellent. And I mean, like when you talk about that, I know of people, they go to events to try to help them, and they go again the following year, and you're going, did you not apply what you learned last year? I know, but I really I'll take it this year. And they go to some events every year, but they don't really change. And I mean, sometimes people are paying, I've seen people pay 10 grand to go to events.
I mean, this is what our passion is helping people be free of what's holding them back. But within that passion, and developing the program that I developed, I have felt that pain. I had anxiety, procrastination, low self-confidence, people pleasing, like you name it. I had it. And like a lot of your audience, I went looking for help. I spent $100,000, Roy, $100,000, 10 years. And I was never free of it. That's not the issue. The issue was I didn't have an issue. I was one of those people that went and spent 10 grand, learned a couple things, came home, didn't really work. And I didn't go, wait a minute. That is a horrible value proposition. 10 grand? I just spent, if I took my car to a mechanic and he charged me 10 grand and it still came back with most of the issue, I would have a problem with that. But this industry, this $1 trillion psychology, therapeutic personal development industry, trillion with a T, I call it the improvement industrial complex. They just take people's money and they don't deliver what people really want, which is to be free. That's not the problem. The problem is we don't see it as a problem. But now that we have a real solution, I want to tell people that you don't have to be stuck in this very expensive, not just money, but time hamster wheel of spending a lot of money to get marginal results. I want to let you know that you can be free of this. And I want to tell you why it matters. Because when you go and you spend all this money and you feel a little bit better, but then you go back to your old ways, not only are you not free of it, but you feel crappier. You beat yourself up. You think there's something wrong with me. This is my fault. Maybe this is as good as life gets. So I want to explain to you, no. Like, you can be free of this stuff quickly and efficiently so you don't spend $10,000 and feel crappier about yourself, which is how I used to feel. And the reason this is possible is because I was one of those people. I was one of those people spending all this money, getting marginal results. And not only was I not feeling better, but I just wasn't the person I wanted to be. I had the insecurity, the doubt, the anxiety, the people pleasing, the perfectionism, the procrastination. And I knew there was a version of me that existed. It was like I would look out in the world and I would see people living the life I wanted to live. And I would kind of have this awareness of like, I could be that person. But something in me kept me from accessing that person. And after $100,000, I said, there's got to be a more effective way to do this. Spending years and decades and thousands of dollars there's got to be a better way. I don't know what that way is, but because I was trained as an engineer, I was trained to engineer things and I was trained to problem solve. And engineers have a certain mindset and a certain skill set, which is that we are really, really good at solving things. We're very highly trained problem solvers. And I looked at this $1 trillion industry and I said, nobody's really solving this stuff. They're just managing. It's Band-Aids. But what people want is life upgrades. And maybe if I brought my engineering approach to this problem, maybe for me and the world, we could find a way to solve this so that people aren't going out there spending $10,000 and then being stuck in the same place. So that's why we were able to do it, is because our approach is engineering versus what most people try is psychology or spirituality. Now, I don't want to dismiss spirituality or psychology. There's value in it. I'm not here to dismiss it. But there's one major downside, which is that it usually doesn't solve anything quickly. Have you noticed that, Roy?
No, definitely. I mean, I've seen a lot of the big gurus out there. I know people that went to them, they think they were cured. And when you know them, you look at them, you go, no. And then later on, they kind of realize it themselves. And sometimes, even if we look at the speaking, like the fair speaking, the preparation, the procrastination, the preparing, people are going to some coaches, speaking coaches, and they're spending a lot of money. And the person then is there kind of guiding them and giving them that little pat on the back. Yeah, you do this, you do that. And as soon as they're gone, they just fall back to where they were. So they haven't helped themselves. They've just got somebody that's kind of doing it for them, but making it look like they're doing it themselves.
Well, you point on something that's going on that it's a problem. People don't know it's a problem, which is that you hire a coach and they do help you. There's value in it, but it's this word help. This word help, we really need to explore this. Just like the word love, it gets used a lot, But as you know, people can do very unloving things and call it love, and people can say they help you, but like, what is the definition of help? Because anybody can help a little bit. But what's the help that people really, really want, which is to be free of something? But this word help, because everyone says they help, has been diluted because how much people help can be a little bit, but they still call it help. There's this website, that's very popular called betterhelp.com. Now, it's called BetterHelp. Now, I'm sure they've got some therapists that are kind of helping people, but like, how much help? I'm working with a client who had been seeing someone from BetterHelp for 4 years. So like, how helpful is it really? But they're not just claiming it's helping; they're calling it BetterHelp. And then people go, "Ooh, BetterHelp!" But then they go on like, "Look, if you're trying something for 4 years and you're still using it, I'm sorry, I don't think that's BetterHelp." One of the number one things they say when they advertise BetterHelp.com is, "Hey, if you don't like your therapist, you can switch your therapist for free." And people are like, "Ooh, that's BetterHelp." But what they're basically saying is, "Hey, you might get someone who can't help you, but you can switch for free." I'm like, that's not what that. Look, if that's the best you can do, fine. But when you call it BetterHelp, you're telling people that this is what help is, and then people get lulled in this false paradigm of what help is. So our company, I'll tell you what our help is. This is how we help people. Really clear. The thing that you're struggling with, the anxiety, the procrastination, the people pleasing, the low self-confidence, the procrastination, I don't know if I said that twice, it's gone. It's measurably gone. And when I say it's gone, it's measurable. When we work with people, we measure everything. Data. You come in, you fill out an intake questionnaire. We measure you with multiple biomarkers of what procrastination or your pain point looks like. We get a baseline measurement. And then as you go through the program, you are measuring numerically as you go through the program. And then when you get to the end, you have real qualitative evidence that we helped you. Why? Because help shouldn't be vague. It should be clear. Here's how much we helped you. And if we don't help you, we don't charge you. Because that's what real help is. Real help is, I helped you. Okay, here's the data. Here's the proof. You pay us. If we don't help you, we don't charge you. And if you're not free of it, we don't charge you. So we're very, very clear in how we help people and the results that we get people, and we back up our results. And I think that matters because so many people have tried so many things where they go into it, they kind of know it's not going to work. And then when it doesn't work, they beat themselves up and think it's their fault. So I'm here to let you know, if you think it's impossible to be free of something, I'm letting you know that these aren't just words. We measure you as you go through the program, and at the end, if we haven't helped you, we don't charge you a penny for 2 reasons. One is, I'm an engineer. I like results. If we don't get you results, we're not going to charge you. It's not fair. But 2, what we do is so innovative, people think it's too good to be true. And a lot of people have been burned buying programs and workshops that overpromise and underdeliver. And you pay a bunch of money, it doesn't work, and then you feel burned. So we're not those people. We believe in integrity. We believe in results. And if we can't help you, we're not going to take your money. What do you think of that?
No, I've seen it, and that's why I love this. It's it's a mission driven, and I think there's something very important as well. Is I actually know a few therapists over the years. Even when I was younger, I like there was a guy. His father was one and everything. And what I've noticed is usually people are getting into the therapist because something's happened in their life, whether there was an alcoholic parent, there was abuse or something like that. There was always something that got them into it. But the problem is with a lot of the therapists, it's their belief system. So they're kind of having their system, their way, and their belief system. And it can kind of, if you say something or you're talking about something that's against their belief system, whereas your program isn't like that. Your program isn't biased. It's like if you look at the political system at the moment, you're either red or you're blue. And a therapist can be like that without actually saying it. Whereas your system isn't like that.
100%. When we tell people that we're solving this stuff quickly and simply, people think, what? That's not possible. And I say, no, that's not possible based on the current paradigm of personal development and psychology. But we innovated. And it's very true. The reason that people aren't being free of this is because they're going to the experts who are they're regurgitating the old guard, the old paradigm of the way things are. And I will say this, I believe that therapists and psychologists and coaches and trainers, they care about people. They do want to help. But I will tell you this, from my experience, they are not passionate about finding a solution. They are completely okay learning what they've learned, that manages things and gives you some tips and tools and benefits, and it doesn't solve anything, not quickly, and taking your money. Now, that is a form of help, but they're okay with it. And I've asked therapists, I said, why aren't people more focused on a solution? And they said, we're complacent. We have a good business model and it works for us. And I was like, I appreciate your honesty. To develop our program took 8 years. 8 effing years of nothing but traveling the world. I worked with addicts in South Africa. I worked with monks in India, with entrepreneurs in Europe and in South America. 8 years of my life as a trained problem solver. That's how we solve this. But your average coach, therapist, they got a good thing going. You come to them for the Band-Aid. They sell you the Band-Aid. You keep coming back. It's a good business model. Good for them. But the engineer in me, the person that's in pain and wants people free of this, I am not okay with this. So the reason we were able to solve this is because we approached this completely from scratch with fresh eyes. We were like, let's not use what's being used already because that's not getting the job done quickly. We start from scratch, and we started with an approach that's much more effective, which is with basics. We looked at this industry and we said, it's really confusing. There's all these different approaches and different strategies, and they don't work that well to solve anything. And it's really confusing. And if it's confusing, then people probably don't know exactly what's going on. It's the person that understands something very simply that usually knows more. So I said, could we develop an approach that's simple? Because if it's simple, it probably means it works. And what we do works because it's simple and it's designed to work. So what do I mean by that? Okay. Our approach is mechanical because I'm an engineer. And if you understand something mechanically, you can get much better results than if you understand something spiritually or psychologically. Now, again, I'm not dismissing psychology and spirituality. It's great for understanding and insights, but if you want to solve something quickly and reliably and effectively, you want mechanical. And let me explain this to you. Okay, so I've said this to you before. Let's say you're at a restaurant and you start choking, and 2 people walk up to you, and one person walks up to you and says, hey, I can see you're really struggling. I feel like you're really focused on the lack of air. You have a real scarcity mindset around the lack of air, and you're really not focused on the abundance of air that the universe has for you. Plus, your ego seems like it's very attached. You have a story that you have to breathe, and that story is holding you back. So if you could just let go of all this, just let go of all that and step into your infinite power, you'd be great. Or somebody walks up and goes, look, here's the deal. Your issue is mechanical. You got a bit of toast mechanically blocking your windpipe. So I'm going to add pressure to your stomach. That's going to put pressure behind the toast, pop it out, and mechanically air will get into your lungs and you'll live. In that situation, if you want to solve something quickly and reliably and fast, do you want an approach that's spiritual, psychological, or mechanical?
I hope that the second person does that and the piece of toast splatters off the head of the first person.
So which do you want, mechanical or spiritual?
Mechanical, of course.
Of course. But is it fair to say that most of what's available out there is not mechanical? Most of what's out there is spiritual or psychological. Right. So what we do is mechanical. And what mechanical means is this is connected to this. If you do this, this will happen every time because it's mechanics and mechanisms. Okay? If you break your bone and you go to the doctor, do you want the doctor to walk up and say, hey, let's look at your childhood. Let's look at your chakras. Let's look at your energy field. Let's vision board. Or do you want the doctor to walk up and say, look, your bone is in 2 mechanical pieces. We're going to put a cast on that mechanically holds the bones together. And then there's a mechanism that fuses the bone, and you'll be up and running in 6 to 8 weeks. Do you want spiritual, psychological, or mechanical?
I want that cast, and I want to get all my buddies to sign it for me.
Darn tootin'. So that's what works. It's just nobody has thought to apply mechanics to things like anxiety, procrastination, perfectionism, and low self-confidence. People ask me all the time, like, what is this incredible thing that you did? Or what's the special, how do you get free of it? The fact is we took a skill set, which is engineering and problem solving that's usually focused for the external world. That's how we've got all this amazing technology. Did you know there's a helicopter on Mars? Did you know that? There's a freaking helicopter on Mars. That is the result of engineers and problem solvers. Meanwhile, because those problem solvers aren't applied to the inner world. Anxiety is on the rise, suicide's on the rise, addiction's on the rise, all this stuff's on the rise. So the reason we had this innovative breakthrough is because we took a skill set that's normally designed for the external world and making cars be more efficient. And I thought, why don't we apply engineering to making people happier? Sound good?
No, definitely. And
okay,
with
now this
people, just on that, like, it's sometimes people, they cling to a condition. Oh, I've got ADHD, I've got this, I've got that. And they use that as their crutch. And then they want to go to the therapist and they say, this is what I need. It's like they have a belief system that the society or the people that are pushing agendas are putting that out there. So people are falling for it. And then they think this is too good to be true. They're saying, there's no way I can be free of this.
No, it's one of the frustrating and sad parts of this job. When we first developed our program, I was in a lot of pain. I had all these symptoms. I wasn't free of them. So we spent all this time developing this system. And I was one of the first people that got the benefits. I woke up one morning and I just felt calm. And I thought it would go away, but it never went away. And I don't care what people think of me anymore. I don't procrastinate. It's like it's gone. I'm free of it, which is what everybody wants. And then we spent a bunch more years to optimize the system so that people could get those results in 6 weeks. And when we cracked the code, we thought this is just going to spread like wildfire. Who wouldn't want a program that gets you free of it and you only pay at the end when it works, so it's no risk? Everyone's going to want to do this. We help some people, but not nearly enough because of the too good to be true. And the too good to be true is because they keep going to these experts that don't help them, and that's their experience. And so they buy into this idea that, I need to have this the rest of my life. I'm broken. This is just me. And the best I can ever do is spend years working on this, slowly getting better. That's just accepted. So then when we come along with this, people say, oh, this is too good to be true. And what I'm trying to educate people is, no. What we do is dead simple. What we do isn't too good to be true. What you've been trying is too inefficient to work. And I want to wake people up to be aware that what you've been trying is ineffective. That's why you're stuck with this. Not because you have to be, but because these people weren't trying to get you out of this, because their approach was spiritual and psychological and not mechanical. But yeah, it makes it really hard for us to sell what we do. That's why we work with people that are motivated. It's fine if people are skeptical about what I'm saying. I'm used to that. And you should be skeptical. Everything you've tried has not gotten you free of this, certainly not quickly. But also, there's a lot of people out there making big promises and under-delivering. So be skeptical, but listen to what I'm about to share with you, because it'll help it make sense why what we're doing isn't too good to be true. It's actually just simple. It's just the experts missed it. And it's because our approach is mechanical. So I'm going to give your audience an inner mechanics lesson of what's going on, that'll explain what's going on, that gives a simple explanation and a simple solution. And when you hear this, it'll make a lot more sense that what we're doing isn't too good to be true. Sound good?
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay. So here's first inner mechanics lesson number 1, to simplify things. Okay. Because when things are simple, it's easier to get results. But I want to make sure if you want something simple, do you want something super duper complicated and abstract, or do you want something simple, Roy?
Everything easy is makes your life better, Daniel.
Okay. So you like the idea of simple and mechanical?
Yes, indeed.
All right. Let's get our mechanics on. All right. Here we go. First, inner mechanics lesson number 1. Whether it's anxiety, low self-esteem, procrastination, perfectionism, people-pleasing, whatever it is that you struggle with, you do not have multiple problems. What you mechanically have is symptoms. Symptoms of one mechanical root cause. Let me say that again. Whether it's procrastination, people-pleasing, perfectionism, low self-esteem, anxiety, fear of speaking, fear of sharing, all of that are not problems. They are symptoms. So you don't have procrastination. You are not a procrastinator. You're not a people pleaser. Those are symptoms of one mechanical root cause. And that mechanical root cause is really simple. Everybody knows it. It's fear. what you're experiencing, what holds you back, is a symptom of fear. Can you kind of see that?
Well, I mean, if I look at my journey of speaking, it was fear making an ass of myself on stage. That was like, if you think of it, you think nervous going on stage, but it's reality is the fear of doing something. So with the public speaking, for me, yes, fear.
Yeah. Now, it's easier to see it with public speaking because when people talk about it, they'll say, like, I have a fear of public speaking. So that word is right in there. So there it's more clear. But also, look at procrastination. People will say, oh, I'm a procrastinator. Well, are you a procrastinator? Or is it you have a fear that when you finish something, you may not get the outcome you want, and that feels scary, so you're procrastinating so that you never finish things and avoid the fear?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So again, root cause fear. Perfectionism. People, oh, I'm a perfectionism. Oh, I'm a perfectionist. My mom is a perfectionist. They're like, no, that's how it feels, but it's a symptom, because what if there's a fear that you're going to make a mistake? And so, yes, as a coping mechanism, as a way to manage that fear of making a mistake, you then try to make things perfect. So can you see that perfectionism is a label? It's a symptom, again, of fear.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or, lacking confidence. You could call it lacking confidence, or you could say you're afraid. A fearful person will not have confidence. Make sense?
Yes. Yeah.
So we can go on and on and on and on and on. If you look at what people buy the books for and the videos and do the retreats, and you look at what they're trying to solve and just say, hey, wait a minute, what's underneath all this? It's almost always fear, which makes sense because fear is going to always hold people back. So inner mechanics lesson number 1 is that what you're struggling with is not an isolated problem. You do not have it. You do not suffer from it. It is a symptom of the actual mechanical root cause, which is fear. Now, maybe your audience is saying, okay, Daniel, well, that makes sense. But duh, I already knew I was afraid. That doesn't help me much. No, it doesn't, but it gets you away from managing the symptom and looking at the real root cause issue, which is the fear. Now, why, even though fear is the root cause, why don't people just say, I'm not a perfectionist, I'm actually just afraid? 2 reasons. One is people don't want to admit they're afraid. People don't want to admit they're afraid or feel the fear. It's scary. We're trying to avoid the fear. So who wants to admit it? But secondly, if you look at your idea through the filter of fear, it's unsatisfying, because when you look at this $1 trillion industry, the way it relates to fear, look at the words that people use. Face the fear, overcome the fear, push through the fear, change your mindset from fear to abundance. That's the way we're taught to approach fear. So take, for instance, overcoming the fear, which is partly what this podcast is about, overcoming. Okay, there's value in that. I spent about 1.5 years, I had this fear of speaking, and I spent 1.5 years with this person that helped me overcome the fear, meaning when I felt the fear, I could keep going and deliver. Great, awesome. I got on stage and I could speak and I delivered and it was great. I overcame the fear. But what's the downside from overcoming the fear? The downside is when you overcome the fear or push through the fear or white knuckle the fear or manage the fear, guess what? The fear is still there. You've got workarounds, you've got tools so it doesn't win, but it's still there. And that's why people are never free of this stuff, because the root cause, the fear, nobody ever heals. They're always just focusing on the symptoms. So the engineer in me said, wait a minute, nobody's trying to get rid of the fear. They're trying to overcome the fear, change the story on the fear, visualizations to push through the fear. But the engineer in me said, wait a minute, where is this fear coming from mechanically? And could we create a mechanical solution so the fear is gone and doesn't come back? Can you see that that's a way better way to live?
No, definitely. And as you're talking about that, if we look at people with big egos, the reality is that's fair as well, because it's the fear admitting you were wrong, especially if there's enough evidence about what the thing is. So that's fair related as well. And everyone knows someone with ego problems.
Absolutely. I mean, to this day, I have not found a single thing that's taught in spirituality or personal development or psychology that isn't a symptom of fear. In our model, the the ego is because there's this fear that who you are isn't good enough. So you create this ego version of you, the version of you you think you need to be lovable and enough. That's the ego. But underneath that is fear. And I can speak firsthand because I used to be an insecure person who thought they wasn't good enough. So I had this big ego of who I thought I had to be and how people had to see me. And I put a lot of energy into it, and it was exhausting, and it didn't work, and it didn't get me people to like me anymore. And then when I went through this program and the fear went away, there was no mask I had to wear. There was no person I had to be because there was no fear, so I didn't have to manage the fear with an ego. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely.
And that's the value of this approach, is when you're free of this, it unlocks your potential. I had a gentleman who came to me. This was somebody else who was not a good public speaker at first. He was terrified. His name was George. He was from Washington, D.C., and he was terrified to go on stage. And he went to a speaking coach, and the speaking coach helped him get over the fear. He gave him tips and strategies of how to structure the talk, visualization, mindset, and it lowered his fear enough that he could get on stage and deliver the talk, which, trust me, way better than nothing. At least he got to do it. But I asked him, I said, when you're on stage, is the fear still there? He said, oh, yeah. I said, okay, and how's that affecting you? He said, well, I'm not free and spontaneous. I'm not as open-hearted and authentic. I'm managing it. I'm white-knuckling it, but I'm not the real authentic me. He said, also, if the talk goes really well, I do okay. But if I get off script, if something's not going well, I get terrified. And I said, what if you could just get on stage and the fear was gone? He said, is that even possible? I was like, it's what we do. So he goes through our program. And we knew from the data that his fear was going down and down and down. So about week 4 of our 6-week program, I said, how's your public speaking going? He's like, it's a whole other version of speaking. One is when I get on stage, I'm just me. I'm relaxed. I'm funny. I'm open-hearted. And people can feel that. They can feel I'm communicating authentically from my heart. So not only is my talk much, much, much better, but I'm enjoying it so much more. But also with the fear gone, I'm making more connections. I'm putting myself out there. So if you're just managing the fear, you can do pretty well. But when the fear is gone, it totally unlocks your potential, not only to be better at what you do and be a better communicator, but you just enjoy it more, which is the whole reason that we do this. Make sense?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Okay. So inner mechanics lesson number 1 is what you're struggling with is a symptom of fear. You've been taught to overcome the fear, push through the fear, do mindset, do visualization, lower the fear, but the fear is never gone. Here is an understanding of fear so that you could be free of it. Gone. Okay? Fear is a feeling. Okay? Now, a lot of fear, we're told, comes from a certain location. The location that people tell us where fear is coming from is usually the mind. People say, the fear is in your mind. It's all in your mind. You need to change your negative thinking. The fear is it's called mental health, as in the mind. So a lot of the way that we try to approach fear is tips and tools and strategies and insights that tell people the issue is in the mind. Agreed?
Great. Yeah, definitely.
Change your mindset, mental health, mind. It's all in your head. Change the story. Quiet the thoughts in your ego, which is in the mind. Mind. Okay. Now, it's true the mind is part of it. The mind can say some negative, horrible, scary things. Trust me, my mind used to beat the crap out of myself, tell me I suck no matter how successful I was. It told me I was a fraud. The mind can say some negative things. But if the mind was the root cause of all this, they would have solved this by now. It's been 100 years of modern psychology, and anxiety is on the rise. The problems are on the rise. That's data. If you really understand something and you're really at the root cause, things should be going down, not up. And that's because these issues that people are struggling with, the perfectionism, the procrastination, the fear, the people-pleasing, it's not coming from your mind. Fear is not coming from your mind. And your audience knows this because do people say, I think afraid or I feel I'm afraid?
Feel.
Do people say, I think anxious or I feel anxious?
Feel.
Feel. And we feel it in our chest, our heart, our throat, our stomach. So the experts are telling you the problem is in the mind. But listen to those words: throat, chest, heart, stomach. Does that sound like the mind to you or the body?
Obviously, the body.
It's the body. Well, obviously it's the body. Yes, it is the body. And that's what the research showed. That's the root cause of the fear. It's in the body. I'm going to explain to your audience why your body is so afraid. But we feel fear in our body, which is the location of the fear. But the experts sent everybody to the wrong effing location. That's why nobody's solving this. Reason number one is because the experts sent people to the wrong place. They sent you to the symptom instead of the root cause. And I'm telling your audience this because people come to us and they say, like, I can't shut my mind off. It says all these things. I'm going crazy. What's wrong with me? I'm like, there's nothing wrong with you. The experts sent you to the literal wrong location. That's why you haven't solved this. But when you go to the actual correct location, the correct mechanical root cause location of fear, which is the body, you have a much better chance at solving it. Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So now the question is, and I just want to be clear here, this is not theory, okay? This is not like, oh, maybe it's not in the mind, maybe it's in the body. This is not theory. This is real. The way we get a 90% success rate, the reason we can back up our results, the reason I haven't felt really fear in 10 years and my procrastination, people pleasing, all that stuff's gone is because we developed a program that addresses fear in the body. So I am living proof that this is real. So now the next question is, why is there fear in the body? That's what people want to know. Why am I so afraid? That's the question. Okay. It's really simple. Two reasons. One is, once you're in the body is a great place to look because the body has systems. It's all systems. The skeleton system, the endocrine system, the epidural, all these systems. And systems are mechanical. So if you can understand the system that's making everybody afraid, you can address it at a system level. And this is the system that's making everybody afraid. And it's really obvious, okay? It's the nervous system. Why is it obvious? It's got the word nervous right in the effing name. Nervous system. You could call it fear, or you could say there's a system in the body called the nervous system, and maybe it's not functioning right. It's making everybody super nervous, aka fearful, aka anxious. There's a system in the body called the nervous system that, trust me, is causing all the problems. And after 100 years of poor results, the experts are like, no, it's coming from the mind. No, there's a system in the body called the nervous system. Pay attention. So fear is coming from your nervous system in your body. It's not your mind. That's a symptom. That comes second. Does this make sense, first of all?
No, definitely. And I think why they push it to the mind is they sell the magic pill, which is part of the corrupt industry that has been pushing all of this, unfortunately.
Yep. And the reason they're able to push it and get away with not helping people that much is because they've gotten everybody conditioned to look in the wrong place. If you think the problem's in the mind, you'll spend your entire lifetime just chasing symptoms, and there's nothing you can do. And people can keep selling you all these different strategies. But when something's in the body and it's a system issue, you can solve it really quickly. That's why therapists and psychologists and coaches don't like what we're doing, because it doesn't make you nearly as much money. You know, the money is in the management, but the satisfaction is in the solution. But when you understand it's the body and the nervous system, you can solve it quickly. So now the question is, why is the nervous system malfunctioning and making everybody nervous and creating all this fear? And this is the big breakthrough that we discovered through our research, okay? Because it's not enough to just say it's in the body and it's the nervous system. You need to understand why the nervous system is malfunctioning, making you extra nervous, aka fearful, and then you have all these symptoms. And this is the big breakthrough. Okay. But first, you got to understand mechanically what's underneath fear in the nervous system. If you're feeling fear, it means that in your nervous system, you feel unsafe. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anytime you're afraid, it's because in the nervous system, you feel unsafe. And if you feel unsafe, you'll then feel a feeling which you call fear. And then to manage the fear, you call it procrastination, people pleasing, or anxiety. But at the root of all of this is that our nervous system is malfunctioning and we feel unsafe. And then there's all these symptoms. Make sense?
No, definitely. And I mean, if you look at what's going on in the world, the people, when they have that, then they reach for all the other, the alcohol or the drugs and everything to numb the pain.
Absolutely. And the reason I know that what we do is at the root cause is because we don't just help people with what I'm describing, the procrastination. These are just the things that creative professionals come to us for. But when we were developing this model, I worked with addicts in South Africa with this same approach. And we know that addicts are numbing the pain, which is in the body. And we applied these tools to the pain that they were numbing. And when we allowed them to just feel safe and heal the pain in their body, they just quit. It looked like magic, but it wasn't. When you heal the real issue in the body, the feelings in the body, you don't need to do all these coping mechanisms to avoid and numb and heal. It's real freedom. It's real freedom. So now the question is, why is the nervous system malfunctioning and making people feel unsafe and afraid? That's the million-dollar question in a way that makes this solvable. And this is the big key breakthrough. But again, it's nothing fancy. It's based in the basics. There's 3 reasons that systems in the body can malfunction. One is catastrophic failure. If you fall off a ladder, you can break your leg. The second is something genetic. You were born where your systems in the body aren't functioning correctly. But there's a third reason why systems in the body can fail. And that is if you don't take care of the system. Your dental system. If you take care of it, your teeth are pretty healthy. But if you don't take care of them, you can get cavities and need a root canal. Your diet. If you eat pretty healthy, your body takes care of you. But if you don't take care of your diet, you're going to have problems. Make sense?
Yep.
So your body is this incredible miracle gift that the universe and God and whoever's up there pulling the strings, they just give us a body. You know how cool that is? You don't have any idea how expensive a body would be if you went on to Alibaba and tried just the tongue alone. You know how much a tongue would cost? It'd be expensive. And then eyeballs? If you had to go online and buy a body, this is getting really dark and sort of Frankenstein-y, but the point is we are given a body for free to experience love and joy in our soul. But whoever's up there pulling the strings says, hey, it's not free. You got to take care of it. And if you don't take care of it, I'm going to bring pain to get your attention. So when we saw that fear was a symptom of the nervous system, and the nervous system is like any system in the body, we said, well, wait a minute. Maybe this isn't complicated. Maybe it's that people aren't taking care of their nervous system. And then the nervous system malfunctions. And that's what's going on. But I want you to feel this. So we're going to do a little role play here. Where we're going to be friends. And I'm going to talk to you, Roy, but I'm also talking to your audience. Okay, I'm going to do a little role play. And what I'm going to show you is the big breakthrough that we saw, which is that the unsafety and fear that humans feel is a direct result of care. So there's a mechanical link between care and safety and fear. You with me?
Yep.
Okay, and I'll prove it to you, okay? So let's say we're friends, which we are. Let's say for this metaphor, we're friends. And for a really long time, I'm a really good friend to you. I'm nice to you. I'm kind to you. I'm respectful. I'm considerate. I'm thoughtful. When you need me, I'm there for you. I know what matters to you, and I make you a priority. And when you share with me what you need, your needs matter to me. If I treat you that way, if I care for you consistently, will you feel safe and calm around me or unsafe and fearful around me?
Be safe. You feel, you want to spend more time with the person that treats you like that.
Of course. But you see that your answer was quick and automatic. You didn't have to look up in a book or check your chakras. It's like, no.
I did. I Googled it.
What'd you say?
I Googled
it. You asked AI. No, when I ask people that question, they're like, no, yeah, I feel safe and calm because it's mechanical. You treat somebody well consistently, they feel safe and calm because it's mechanics, because there's trust built. And when there's trust, you feel safe. When you feel safe, you feel calm. So this is just to show you there's a link between care and feeling unsafe, between care and feeling safe. Okay, so now let's say for reasons which unbeknownst to you, all of a sudden, I start treating you crappy. I'm really mean to you. I know what you need, and it doesn't matter. In fact, I know what scares you, and I do it. I'm critical to you. I don't appreciate you. I put everybody else ahead of you, and I put you dead last. And when you need me, I mean, you really need me, I'm not there for you. And in fact, I criticize you when you're struggling. If I treat you that way, if I'm not caring to you for a while, are you going to feel safe and calm, or unsafe and fearful?
No, you feel terrible.
Yeah. Are you going to feel safe?
Nope.
Or unsafe?
Unsafe.
Yeah. And do you see how it's almost mechanical? It's not like you have to think about it and wonder. It's just like, if you get treated this way for a while, you'll feel unsafe.
And I mean, the thing is, I know this is hypothetical, but every single person that's listening has experienced that or has witnessed that, and sometimes people on a daily basis. So they know exactly what you're saying.
Yeah. Sometimes when I do this exercise, someone and I say, I treat you like crap. I put you last. I criticize you. Someone will say, wow, you sound like my ex. So people understand and have been on the other end of poor care and have felt the unsafety and fear of being on the other end of a human. So we get this. It's just that it was so simple, nobody saw that this applied to ourselves, which it does. So what I've showed you is there's a direct mechanical link between how somebody treats you and cares for you and safety and calm. And if they treat you poorly, poor care, you'll feel unsafe and fearful. But I did this in a friend relationship, but is it fair to say you're in a relationship with yourself?
Absolutely.
And is it fair to say that sometimes you're not always the most loving, caring friend to yourself?
I would say that over the years, thankfully, I have learned to love myself, but there's been years ago that you're the worst critic, even on stage or whatever. I'm the one that's beating myself up more than anyone else.
Absolutely. And so people know that they don't treat themselves and they don't love themselves well. The one you said, beat myself up, critical. That's the number one. Now, our research showed there's 28 ways that people need to take care of themselves. The average person knows of about 5. The top one is being hard on ourselves, beating ourselves up. That's one. Now, whether you know about 1 or 28, that doesn't matter. Your audience knows that they're not always a good friend of themselves, and your audience knows they have fear. What nobody saw and was sitting literally under everybody's nose, but we saw, is there's a direct mechanical link between how you treat yourself and how safe and calm you feel in your body. If you're on the other end of a friend who treats you poorly, you feel unsafe and fearful. But you're treating yourself poorly, and you're on the other end of yourself. And the way you treat yourself is the reason that your nervous system feels unsafe and you feel fear in your body. So let me say that again. What's making everybody afraid, which then creates the symptoms of anxiety, procrastination, self-doubt, fear of rejection, fear of failure, procrastination, people-pleasing, all those are symptoms of fear. But that fear is a direct mechanical symptom of how you treat yourself every day. And when you treat yourself poorly over time, keyword over time, it accumulates such that you feel unsafe in your own body. Your nervous system feels unsafe, and that's where the fear is coming from. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Now, people know about being critical, but there's another one. People say, well, what are the other ways we treat ourselves poorly? So here's another one of how people treat themselves poorly that people know about, but they don't know that it's creating the fear in the body. That's the issue. Not that you know that you're doing it, it's that you understand that that's what's creating the fear. So do you, Roy, have you ever, or do you know somebody that is bad with compliments or deflects compliments?
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of Irish, they just kind of nod it off. They don't, I think what I've seen is that an American, when they give a compliment, some people, they really appreciate it and everything, and they kind of, they absorb the compliment. But a lot of people, it's just like they just shrug their shoulders, and then there's the fakeness as well. Like, I mean, I've seen like a group of women, oh, look at your dress. They just do it to kind of lift each other up. So there's that side as well. But when there's a genuine compliment I think, especially men, I don't think that they actually kind of just sit back and just kind of feel the compliment that has just been made towards them.
100%. Now, it is true that being an American, I know we have a sort of a cultural over-the-top optimism that in other cultures is less. When I was living in England, it was almost a joke to me. I would purposely try to compliment British people and just watch them. No matter what you said, they would not receive you could walk up to a British person and say, "Hey, I heard you were one of the first people on the moon." And they'd say, "Well, the rocket was going there anyway. I just caught a ride." Like, they refuse to take in the compliment. But even in America, it's an epidemic. People don't receive compliments. Now, that's not the issue. People know they don't receive compliments. People all the time say, "Oh, yeah, I'm horrible with compliments. My partner always tries to give me compliments." That's not the issue. What people don't realize is that is creating the fear in your nervous system. Here, I'll show you. Let's say again, in our little role play, that we're friends, okay? And let's say somebody pays you a compliment, okay? Now let's say I jump in and I go, no. Get that appreciation away from that. They don't get appreciation, okay? They get criticism for hours when they mess up. If I treated you that way and I blocked the compliment, can you see that you wouldn't feel safe around me?
I'd show you my martial arts skills and give you a good kung fu kick to the head.
You would. But underneath anger is also fear. So still, the point is, if somebody blocks a compliment from the outside, it won't feel good to you. And the fact is, we are blocking compliments to ourselves, and that's what's creating the fear. This is the big breakthrough. The fear that you're feeling is not your chakras. It's not so much your childhood. It's not society. It's not self-doubt. It's the little tiny behaviors that you do every day that have been accumulating over time to leave your nervous system in an unhealthy place. That's the downside. That's the bad news. The number one cause of fear in human beings is the nervous system, which is malfunctioning because of the accumulation of a little bit every day. People are being emotionally unhealthy to themselves, and they don't know they're doing it. And that's another reason people aren't free of this stuff, is because the number one cause of the fear in your body, which is how you treat yourself, you're doing it every day. You're still doing it. So even if you go to a retreat, or if you go to a therapist, or if you change your mindset, or you meditate and you temporarily manage the symptom, if every day you're still reinforcing the fear in your body, can you see that the symptom will never go away?
Yeah, for sure.
So that's the bad news. The bad news is that your symptom, what you're experiencing, is a direct mechanical link to little behaviors of unhealth from you to you every day. That's the bad news. But, if we want a way to turn this around quickly and reliably, why is it actually good news to realize that what you're struggling with is a symptom of just little behaviors that accumulate every day? Why is that actually good news?
Because once you're aware of it, when you have the proper, I suppose, system, that you can stop it.
Well, it's two things. First of all, you're aware of it, but the thing that you're aware of is that it's a little simple thing that's been building over time that's the problem. And if the problem is a result of little things building over time, which is what weight gain is. If somebody is 20 pounds overweight, it's not because of their chakra or because they were attacked by an alien or Harry Potter hit them with the chubby wand, if there's a chubby wand that exists. It's because every day, over time, you made some unhealthy dietary choices and they built up, they accumulated, and you took in more calories than you burned and you have extra weight. But if you want to reverse that, it's nothing fancy. It's nothing complicated. You don't have to be enlightened. You don't have to overcome it. You just have to make small dietary choices that are totally doable, that accumulate over time. And if you work the steps, you get the results, which is that the weight goes away. So the reason this is good news is, yes, you're aware of what's causing it, but what's causing it is completely solvable. You just make small adjustments every day. And this is what our system does, from unhealth to health. And just like a diet, when you switch from unhealth to health, it accumulates over time. And the end result, after 6 weeks, is that when you move from emotional unhealth to health, and we'll show you how to do this, the end result is you have a healthy nervous system and you feel safe. When you feel safe, the fear goes away. Can you see that if you're a creative professional, and whether you call it anxiety, whether you struggle with procrastination, people pleasing, perfectionism, anything, can you see that if you're a creative professional, if you just woke up every morning and your default was that you just felt safe from the inside out, can you see that that would make you a more effective creative professional?
Absolutely, 100%.
Why?
Because when you have any of the things that you've said, procrastination and whatever, it's all wasted time. So when you're safe and you're doing something, you're doing it from a place of love, you're loving yourself and just moving forward. And there's no kind of, I suppose, wasting time, because the reality is everything that you do can be wasted based on your thought process and the fear that you've got.
Man, that was a way deeper answer than I was looking, but you're absolutely right. I mean, it's true. When the fear is still there, when we feel unsafe and it's there, and you're always working on managing it, it takes energy to always overcome it and push through it. And your whole life is affected by it. You're like a hot air balloon with sandbags. You know, you can get under the hot air balloon and like push on it and push on it and push on it and get that hot air balloon to go up a little bit, but you're putting all this energy into getting the hot air balloon to rise. But what happens if you stop lifting the hot air balloon? It drops down. It's also exhausting, always trying to overcome the sandbags and overcoming the fear. But if you just feel safe, you're clipping the sandbags, and then what happens to the hot air balloon? It wants to just rise automatically. And all that energy that you went into lifting up the hot air balloon now is like a turbocharge. It gives you a version of yourself when you're free of this. Instead of always managing the fear and managing, you're just free. You're free to be open-hearted and authentic. You enjoy things more. You're better at what you do. It's what we're all here to be. That's what we get when we feel safe, is we're truly free. Now, everything I've said is true. This is why I've been free of this. I feel very safe in my own body. I don't have to meditate anymore for it. It's just my default. But it's all theory. And theory doesn't get results. Here's why we get results. Because again, what we do is based in what works. Okay, now what does that mean? Usually when people go looking for help, no matter what theory, no matter what coach, no matter what therapist, no matter what teacher, usually they go to one teacher, therapist, coach. They'll get one tip or tool here, one tool from this person, one tool for that person. They kind of go and get like individual tools and individual tips from people. Now, if you want to manage your symptoms, individual tips and tools are fine. But if you want to create real change quickly, do you want one tip or one tool, or do you want a complete set of tools that are engineered to work together to get the job done? Which do you want?
That are working together to get the job done.
Yeah. To really create real efficient change quickly, you need a complete optimized toolkit where the tools are designed to work together to get one job done. You need multiple tools for one job. If you hire a contractor and they show up to your house and they've got one hammer, and they're like, I've got a hammer, I've got one tool, I'm here to completely rebuild your house, but I've got one tool. Are you going to be like, where the hell are the other tools? You need more tools, man.
I think you would call them a tool for doing that.
Well played. So if you went to a mechanic and the mechanic was like, yeah, no, I'll totally rebuild your car. I got a screwdriver. I got a tool. You'd be like, where are your other tools? Because we understand intuitively, to really create real change quickly, you need a complete optimized toolkit that gets the job done to address the root cause. The problem is that's not what this industry normally sells us. They usually sell us individual tools that aren't designed to work together. So can you see that if you're listening to this, the reason you have failed is not because you're a failure or you can't be free of this stuff. It's because you needed a complete toolkit and you were going to individual people and getting individual tools, and an individual tool is never going to fully address the root cause quickly. Does that make sense?
I think Daniel's got the full toolbox that's part of his package. Everything's in it.
It's everything in one place. And the beauty of that is that it speeds things up. I was talking to somebody who was free of his anxiety. Now, our program gets you free of anxiety in 6 weeks. He said he was completely free of anxiety. And I said, that's great. That's wonderful. He said, yeah. And I said, how long did that take? He said, 8 years. I was like, uh-huh. And I said, and how did you get there? He's like, well, I went to this person for this tool. I tried that out. That didn't work. Then I went and got this tool. And so I spent 8 years bouncing around, trying to figure it out. And I was like, yeah, sounds about right. Now, so he eventually got the toolkit, but it took him 8 years. The reason we researched and tested was to find the complete toolkit in one place. So that's part of why we get these incredible results. All the tools you need in one place. But that's not even the most important part. Because it's not enough to just have everything you need in one place. Let's say you had a friend who has had a chocolate chip cookie. And they really want to make a chocolate chip cookie, but they don't understand baking at all. And they come to you and they say, hey, help me bake a chocolate chip cookie. And you give them all the ingredients, all the tools they need. You give them the flour, the water, the sugar, the chocolate, the oven, the spoon, the bowl. You give them everything they need in one place. But your friend doesn't know how to bake. Is your friend going to be able to make a chocolate chip cookie even though they have everything in one place?
I think he'll be like me, can't bake.
No. You're going to end up with a mess. And why, even though you have everything you need, you couldn't make a cookie? What are they missing?
The recipe.
Yeah, the recipe. What they're lacking is the instructions, the ingredients, the order. What do you do in what order? And for how long and how often? You need the instructions. That's what you need. You can't just have the tools, you need the instructions. But usually when I went looking to coaches and therapists, they'd give me a tip or a tool and technique and they'd say, here you go, good luck. And I would go out and I would try and I would fail and I'd feel worse about ourselves. So the reason our program is so effective, not only do you have all the tools in one place, but you have very simple, clear instructions. Here's what you do on day 1. Here's how often you do it, for how long. Here's what you do on day 2. Here's how many repetitions, for how long. Everything you need, the tools and the very simple instructions so you can't fail. That's what we spent all these years optimizing and testing for, was the toolkit, but also the instructions. And when you have both together, here's the best part. Not only do you get incredible results, but you really can't fail. And I'm telling you this because there's a lot of people out there trying stuff that's not built to succeed, and then they fail, and then they beat themselves up, and they feel worse about themselves. And what I'm telling you is, yes, we want to help you, but we are also passionate that we don't want to harm you. We do not want people trying our programs and failing. So the program is built so that you can't fail. It's so simple. And it's also why we don't collect money at the beginning. We don't want to charge you and then it doesn't work and then we walk away. You felt that pain before and we're not going to do that to you. We get paid at the end. Our success is your success so that we're with you every step of the way. We're not going to let you fail. And the reason that we back up our results is because we get results, and we get results because we don't want you to fail, and you don't fail because you have all the tools that you need and you have all the instructions so that if you work the steps, you get the results. What do you think about what I'm saying?
No, and I mean, like, because obviously we're working closely together. And the thing is, some people might think, oh, this is just for high level executives. Yes, it will help them. But there's even young people like, 22, 23, that has helped once they want to change. And like, there was one NFL guy who got so much results. Like, I mean, most of the times you don't say anything. You're not telling people, hey, look what I did. There was one video that I came across and I said to you, this is incredible. Like, you were talking to the guy and he's saying exactly a high performance person, like how it has helped him and changed and how he grew and everything. And it's like, that's inspiring. And also, like, you mentioned in Africa, like, there's people, they might be on marijuana, but you didn't tell them that it was like, you got one guy, there was a guy off heroin. Like, there's nobody out there saying things like that. And I know that you don't want to be writing that and everything because we'd be attacked and everything. But I know that. And like, to have something that's able to do that to people is a game changer. And it's just, The issue is that too good to be true. But I can tell you from me, I have witnessed it constantly. I constantly witness it. I constantly see people getting results. And that's what's inspired me to be working with you and growing this and putting it out there, because you change one person's life. You're not just changing that person. You're changing their whole circle, their family, and their future generations. And then they have the ability to help others as well. And it's the ripple effect that
Absolutely.
we're doing in the world.
Thank you for pointing that out, because what we're teaching isn't symptom management, it's true health. Not only is it addressing the root cause so people are free of it, whether it was the heroin, the drugs, the NFL athlete who was incredibly accomplished, but he still had that fear. And so when we brought his nervous system back, the fear was like he went to the next level in so many areas of his life. But because we're teaching health, people can then pass this on to their kids. Constantly, we have clients coming in who are anxious, and they're saying, I'm passing it on to my children, and I don't know how to stop it. And I had a client, this was about 3 months ago, who came in for anxiety, and she said, I can't thank you enough. And I said, oh, like, you're welcome. She said, not only am I feeling much calmer, but my teenager came home from school who gets bullied. And I asked my teenager, how are you doing? And they said, well, I got bullied today, but it didn't really bother me that much. And the parent said, wait, what? And the teenager said, well, I watched what you've been doing. And so I started doing it. And so basically the teenager felt much safer from within. So the bullying just didn't affect them as much. And the client just said, you not only gave this gift to me, but you're giving it to my children and their children's children. That's the value of what we're doing. That's the impact. So yes, there's this theory. What you're struggling with is a symptom of fear in the body, which is a symptom of how you treat yourself. And why that's good news is if you go from unhealth to health, which is what our program does, your nervous system is safe and all these symptoms go away. Not only are you better, but the people around you better, but it makes this doable. And that's how we're getting these results. And it's why we can back up our results. But the results is what this is about. So if you're somebody who is anxious and you've tried a lot of things and you can manage your anxiety, but you want to feel free of it, we help people with that every day. Come find us. It's about the results. If you're somebody who procrastinates and you know you procrastinate and you have tips and tools to manage the procrastination, but you just want to be free of the procrastination so you can just every day wake up and bring value to the world and be in purpose hours and hours per day. That's me. This excitement comes from being in purpose because there's not fear. And so I'm able to be like this all the time. If that sounds good to you, that's what we do. Come find us. If you're a people pleaser or a perfectionist and you know about it and you manage it, or you're recovering from it, but you want to be free of it, or you don't want to care what people think of you, we help people with that every day. We can help you with that. If you're insecure or have self-doubt or low confidence, and you have lots of tips and tools to manage it or overcome it, but you want to be free of it, we help people with that every single day, and we can help you with that too. So if you're listening to what I'm saying and the idea of being free of what's holding you back in 6 weeks sounds good to you, and it sounds good to you because we're in the right location, the body. We're addressing the fear in the nervous system. We're addressing the fear in the nervous system with an actual system with all the tools and the instructions that address the root cause. And there's no risk to try this, which means you can try it. If it doesn't work, you don't pay. You only pay at the end when you are free of this and you're living the life you want to live and being the person you want to be. If that sounds good to you, come to the website. My name's Daniel Packard. Come to danielpackard.com. We've got some free resources. You can find out about the program, the cost, learn more about it. If you're curious, you can book a free quick call with me. I'll learn more about you, what you're struggling with, what's holding you back, what you want. And we'll see if our program's a good fit for you. If you want to do it, great. If not, that's okay too. We only want motivated people. But again, what I hope your audience has gotten out of this call is to understand that the reason they're stuck with these symptoms, it's not your fault. You're not broken. There is nothing wrong with you. It's that the experts you went to weren't trained and passionate about solving this. We are, and we're solving this. So I hope you can understand now that this is solvable, but also that maybe you have hope that you can solve and be free of this stuff too. You do not have to live like this if you don't want to. You can be free of this. And when you're free of this stuff, man, it's so effing good. I wish I could give you a sample, but you'll just have to take my word for it. So if any of that sounds good to you, just come to danielpackard.com. Just be curious, but open. And yeah, we just want to help.
And like, I mean, obviously, I know a lot about everything that you've got. So you're always there to help. So there's no hard sale or anything. We want people that are actually really interested in this. And I think as soon as they have a conversation with you, they tell you what the issues are going because of, I mean, I'm just constantly seeing different results and different things that people are going through. And it's like, it's so inspiring for me to see how a person's life has changed. And like, so I like, he's not lying when he says this, if he doesn't help you, you don't pay. And like, that's the reality of it. So I would say just check out danielpackard.com, book a call, and just let us know afterwards. I know we're there to share everything. So the comments, as long as they're nice, they stay there. Even if you said, "Hey, this is all doesn't work," because it doesn't happen. Because there's so many people that I know, they're just like they're blown away from the results. So listen, Daniel, thoroughly enjoyed the conversation as always. And I just look forward to our continued relationship in helping the world.
Me too, my friend. Thanks for having me.
No problem. So that's all for the Speaking Podcast. You'll find all our episodes on speakingpodcast.com. Be sure to share with your friends, give us a thumbs up, 5-star rating. And as you know, we're trying to get the message out. So really, if you know somebody that would benefit from this, please share it with them. Take care. So I hope you enjoyed this week's episode. As mentioned at the start, you'll find my 6 podcasts on bio.link/podcaster. And also, if you'd like to start a podcast or do a podcasting tour, you'll find the information on that or on the QR code that's there. Be sure to give us a thumbs up, 5-star rating, and share with your friends because it really helps. And also, I'd like to thank danielpackard.com, helping people with fear, doubt, and anxiety. He's got a 90% success rate, and he's only charging if he helps you. So be sure to check him out, and you get a free call to discuss everything. Until next week, take care.